Shuffletown at 213. We can go over to Allen at 222. And then Huntersville, you're just outside of what we have here by the time the end of this severe thunderstorm warning is passed and gone. This one is not as impressive as the other one that provided a tornado warning. This one, I think, was much bigger. It also had that little appendage that was associated with a supercell, but at least it is dying out and flattening out a little bit.
Always good news to see that change of it dying out, of course. Now, this severe thunderstorm warning, I will tell you, and of course, Chris has been saying this does include the Charlotte metro area, so I think that's extremely important. You know, so for folks who are maybe out and about in this area, you definitely want to be weather aware because this is going to pass right near Charlotte metro area where I know a lot of our viewers live. Currently, they're just to the north there of Rock Hill. It's going to continue its trek there toward the north and northeast. Likely going to clip their portions of the Lake Wiley area, move just likely northwest of Pineville up toward Berry Hill. Again, for the Queen City, Toddville areas, even up toward Harrisburg, could see kind of like the tail end of that, Chris, you know, if this thing can hold together.
Yeah, and let me see. I'm going to try to bring up any questions that you might have here on Facebook. Looking at any comments. Let me see.
Just something to watch.
Oh,
a little
man.
bit of rotation just west of Gastonia.
All right, west of Gastonia. This is a good bet. Let's see what we got going on here. All right. So, weather enthusiasts, you have a little pocket of rotation right there in Bessemer City, switching over to that. It's on the back side of that, so but also it hasn't adjusted. So, likely that rotation is probably northwest of East Gastonia, just south of Dallas Road. I don't think it's caught up to it yet. Yep, right there. A little bit of rotation. So crossing I-85, I would not be surprised if either side of I-85 right in this little appendage here. And that's what we're looking for. We're kind of looking at a little bit of different, that we might have more tornado warnings associated with something like this. So watch for those low-hanging clouds from the base of a storm that are rotating. If that's the case, you need to get to your safe place immediately. But right now, no active tornado warnings, but we do have just a juicy atmosphere for a lot more tornado warnings to be popping.
Yeah, and I know, Chris, I know you agree with this, but I'm a huge proponent for, you know, even before a warning is issued, if there's an area of rotation and we have a widespread threat today, you know, for some of these storms, we're trying to give you an early heads up. I mean, these are the things that we look for, you know, of course, before a warning is issued. So, again, no tornado warning officially issued, but that is that area of rotation. We just kind of want you guys to all be aware of that, especially since it is so close to such a major interstate there with 85 right around that area.
Yeah, and these winds are, by the way, just an estimate, and this is coming all the way from Greenville, Spartanburg, so you kind of have to reduce some of the winds because it goes out at a slight angle, 0.5 degrees to be precise, but that starts to increase with height. So this likely is beaming up of at least 5,000 feet in the atmosphere, showing winds at about 66 miles per hour. This is associated with that one little cell right here over the TGK area. So TGK, likely the winds are really rocking and rolling around your area. It's spreading out. No tornado tag with this one as of yet. So following the line, moving on towards the northeast of 55 miles per hour. This is substantial. That is very fast pace for a storm. So that means I think wind gusts to that point are easily going to be obtained. All right, so let's do a new track with this one. I could see this one exhausting itself pretty quickly. I don't think this is going to be a continued severe thunderstorm warning, just my personal opinion. Charlotte, so you're at 204 now by the most recent. I actually am going to readjust this because it already outpaced me. All right, Charlotte, I think you're going to see rain from this probably around 2 o'clock. So that means within the next 10 minutes, you're going to see this thing kind of fly in and out of the area. Since it's so small, I'm going to do a different tool here to show a better estimate of who's going to expect these winds. Let's do this one right here. Yeah, so the new one will be there. Derrida around 210. Charlotte has 204 according to that, where I think you really start getting some of the heavier rain. And then Concord Regional Airport about 220 associated with this. And I wouldn't be surprised if a few more of these start to form. You can see just on the southern side of this, a new thunderstorm has now started to be in effect. This is going to be a day. This is going to be a day. There's just sometimes you're looking at it. We're also looking at this one right near Richburg. Slight rotation, not really strong winds, but you're starting to see a lot of these little teeny pockets associated with this system. So these type of little things, I think this is a very weak rotation. That's why we're not seeing anything lifted. If you go back to the sweeping, not really seeing a major appendage or that little inflow notch that is typical with this. However, this one is. This one's starting to see, let's see what it's looking like. No, nothing there yet. Sometimes it can just be a false read, but we're looking for those across the area. At this point, you never know. If you have a severe thunderstorm warning, this is my best advice for you. I would treat it as a possible tornado warning, especially a little bit later on in the afternoon, because any one of these could just catch some of those rotational tracks. All right, web team, if you're listening to me, I'm having a really tough time trying to bring up more comments because I want to be able to answer some of these questions for you. Let me see. I'm seeing a lot of individual questions for unique areas. We can't do that, but since I only see a few of them, I will. I have Kings Mountain, Gastonia, Conover. The other question is, how bad is it going to get? Well, it depends, because you have already seen, and let's go back over the last hour, this storm system didn't really look like anything just south of Cleveland County, and then it was right about here that it grew, and then here's the reason why. Notice that little appendage that we're looking for? That's what you don't want to see. Mm-hmm. That's the whole reason why we had a tornado warning at that point. Look at how quickly that bubbled up. So, yes, it was this area that might have had maybe a brief tornado that was spawned in there, or you could have had the intense winds associated with it. That was from about Boiling Springs to Double Shoals. But meanwhile, Kings Mountain, you just had a general thunderstorm during this point. So it's really tough to say, hey, what you're going to see, because look at all the places in this county, the ones that are affected on the western side, far different than what's happening on the eastern side. So that's why it's so tough when you say individually what's going to happen in our area. You just need to know exactly what the threats are. And the main threat is going to be for damaging winds. Even though it just says limited for tornado, any threat for tornadoes is one that you need to take especially serious. But I even think any threat for damaging winds you should take equally as serious, because a EF0 tornado produces winds at about 65 to 85 miles per hour. A severe thunderstorm can produce winds anywhere from 40 to 60 or 60 to 80 plus. Mm-hmm. I personally, when I first started my career, it was in Iowa, we had one storm that blew boats out of the water into trees with gusts up to 95 miles per hour. We typically don't see that here, a little bit closer to home. Usually the upper threshold is around that 70 to 80 miles per hour, but something that we're watching. It's been a while since we've had a 30% elevated threat. That's why we're going to continue to keep you updated actively here online as long as we have warnings in the area. I think we're going to start to hit a lull once this first batch rolls through, but it just shows that that atmosphere is twisting. I can confirm that the man himself, the myth, the legend, Brad Panovich, has walked into the studio, because we need to be on guard for anything that can happen, especially when you're in the red, and that's pretty much all of our WCNC viewing area.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this eventually was expanded, Chris. We talked about, of course, this a second ago, but, over toward, Wadesboro, Rockingham, Albemarle, Chirac, while you're not technically right now under that tornado watch, when the sun comes out, you get that daytime heating. I would not be surprised if that wasn't expanded to include those areas as well. Yeah,
and you can see it right there, that what Brittany's talking about. There's that tornado watch, and as you mentioned, it goes until 8 p.m. Mm-hmm. It's only on the western side, and the reason for that is what I'm thinking is because it's a little bit closer to this actual system, because one big player of this whole setup is the low pressure system. So it's a little bit close to the west. As you saw Brad there, I told you I wasn't lying. He is actively here. And it's a little bit close to that front. That's where things are most active. And the reason why you had that secondary chance for a tornado to pop up, I would say like around the Raleigh area, was because of that warm front, that one right there. So it's the warm front also down near Macon, Georgia, that you have those two big pulses. We also have Scotty Powell that's here in studio. You know it's a day when Scotty came all the way from Morganton to come help us out today.
I know,
there's Brad. See, I told you, Brad's so wily.
Yeah. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning, Chris, that was just issued. This is for parts of Catawba, Gaston, Iredell, and Lincoln County. Now, this does have the tornado possible tag along with it.
Okay, and here's the reason why. This is what Brittany had pointed out. The possibility of a little bit of rotation. You can actually see it. So where did we see it a little bit? So it was really close to Dallas. And let's bring up our Dallas camera, because that's exactly where it is. That's one of the advantages of. You can see the rain flying. We're pointing towards the good part of this. I'm going to try to circulate it around. Brad's going to be doing this. It's on a big delay from our system, so you're probably not going to see a lot of live action here. But, Brad, what direction are we pointing right now? This would be pointing towards Charlotte, I think, towards the east. So we're going to try to swing it back over. You can see some of the darker clouds. That's Charlotte right there.
I think we're looking west.
Yeah, okay, we're looking west right now.
There's mountain.
Yeah, so you can see just the outskirts of the rain. We're going to see if we can see a little bit. Okay. It takes a long time for this to update, but just take my word for it. Yeah, you can really see the frightening base of this storm. A very dark clouds associated with this. Watch for this turn past the angle. It's a little bit further off towards the west. As I mentioned, we're on a big delay for this. I think you're about to see it right almost now. There it is. Yeah. So now what we're going to be watching for is any rotation along with this. And you see a little appendage there. So this is the first time that we've been able to use our Dallas camera for maybe seeing what's happening with these storms. Watching closely, you can see a little bit of a lowering right there. Oftentimes you can confuse in what's called a scud cloud. So this is something that is really interesting to watch. So this is actively that new severe thunderstorm warning. Yeah, so here. So let's go over to the wall. I'll show you exactly what we're looking at. So this right here, you're seeing a few lowerings. That sometimes when these get a little bit lower and they're not rotating, those are scud clouds. But when you start to really see this mass rotating, that's where we can have that rotating wall cloud. So this is something to watch, but just look at how mean that is. And this is at 1,450 feet up in the atmosphere. So we're almost at what's called the LCL, the lifting condensation level. So that's the bottom of the storm. And Brad's watching this actively. I can't really tell anything that's actively showing.
Rotating over towards the rain shaft.
Rain shaft? Okay, so we are starting to see a little bit more. Okay, so here's the rain shaft that we're looking at. So we are starting to see a slight rotation.